The pages of the Bible do not merely recount stories of faith and promise, but also unveil conflicts that have persisted for millennia. Through each event, we encounter characters and pivotal moments that define the identity of nations and shape their destiny. But what truly caused the Jews and Arabs to clash throughout history? What truths hidden within their historical connections continue to strongly impact society today? Why do conflicts seem to relentlessly follow them? As we delve into biblical narratives, we not only uncover the past, but also grasp valuable lessons that might unravel the complexities of the modern world. Prepare for an exciting journey to unravel the historical connections and choices that shaped war and peace, formed from promises and decisions made long ago. As usual, don't forget to hit like and share this story with your loved ones, and subscribe to the channel to give me the motivation to create more new videos. In a mystical moment amidst the vast desert of ancient Mesopotamia, God called Abraham, an ordinary man, and bestowed upon him a great promise that would change the course of human history. In Genesis 12:2, the Lord declares, "I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you, I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing to all people." This promise is not only a divine commitment, but also an eternal covenant, passed down through generations, bringing not just descendants, but an everlasting promise. Imagine Abraham, a man of unwavering faith, living in an era where fertility and lineage were symbols of honor and legacy. He and his wife Sarah, despite their advanced age, bore the lingering pain of years of barrenness, a sorrow that shadowed their lives like a ghost they couldn't dispel. This divine promise not only tested their patience, but also ignited a fierce hope that a great nation would arise from them, even in their old age. However, the waiting gradually became a burden on them. Sarah's barrenness and intense pain began to deepen their sense of despair as time passed without any sign of change. With the persistence of a mother longing for a child, Sarah considered the cultural options of her time, including allowing her servant to become a concubine in hopes of securing an heir. One evening, as the last rays of sunlight faded, Sarah, in a moment of both resolve and hesitation, suggested to Abraham, "The Lord has prevented me from having children. Sleep with my maid. Perhaps we can build a family through her." This suggestion, born of desperation, seemed like a practical solution in a society where reproduction held deep significance for status and honor. In the nomadic society they lived in, reproduction was not merely a biological need, but an essential factor for the tribe's survival, and using a maid to bear a child was not uncommon. Hagar, the Egyptian maid, was the ideal candidate for this role, and Sarah, though filled with anxiety, decided to pursue the plan in hopes of fulfilling the promise. Abraham, with his love for his wife, accepted this proposal, perhaps not because he sought an alternative path, but out of deep affection for Sarah. Sarah, who had once thought this would be the solution to her suffering, now felt threatened. The presence of Hagar, the former servant, had become an unavoidable reminder of Sarah's inability to conceive. The relationship between Sarah and Hagar quickly grew tense and competitive, as Hagar began to look at Sarah with contempt and arrogance. Meanwhile, Sarah, consumed by pain and jealousy, was drawn into feelings of insecurity and humiliation. This tense scene not only illustrates the complexity of the relationships between the characters, but also shows how human interference in a divine plan, even with good intentions, can lead to inevitable division and misunderstanding. In a moment of desperation and anger, Sarah began to mistreat Hagar, who endured oppression from both sides, her mistress and herself. Overwhelmed, Hagar decided to flee into the desert, where she sought relief from the pressure and overwhelming pain. This act of fleeing was not only a physical separation, but also a profound inner struggle between her role as a mother and the suffering she endured. She was no longer merely a servant, but a resilient woman, a mother facing countless trials. The desert, a place barren, cold, and dim, became a sacred space for Hagar. Here she sought freedom in solitude, but also confronted indescribable pain, a pain that forced her to face the prospect of losing everything, including her own life and that of her son. Yet in her moment of despair, God did not abandon her. An angel of the Lord appeared, bringing a message of hope. Hagar, do not be afraid, for God has heard the cry of you where you are. Genesis 21:17. The angel's call was not only comfort but also a confirmation that God always listens and cares for his children, even in the most dire circumstances. With the angel's encouragement, Hagar found not only comfort but also guidance toward a brighter future. The desert, once a place of isolation, now became a sacred space where God drew near and gave her new hope. When she returned to Abraham's household, though tensions remained, Hagar carried with her a steadfast belief in God's promise of a future. She was pregnant with Ishmael, a clear sign that God had heard her suffering and would fulfill his word. However, Hagar's life did not become any easier. The presence of Ishmael in Abraham's household stirred jealousy from Sarah, who had previously suggested that Abraham take Hagar as a secondary wife. The hostility between the two women escalated, and new challenges began to surface. The rivalry between Ishmael and Isaac, Abraham's two sons, created an atmosphere of tension. In Genesis 21:9-10, Sarah demands that Abraham send Hagar and Ishmael away, saying, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that slave woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." This expulsion was not just a family decision but also reflected a harsh reality in Abraham's familial relationships. When Hagar and Ishmael were cast out of the family, they faced not only material deprivation but also profound loneliness. They wandered in the desert, lacking water and fighting for survival. Yet, in their darkest moment, God once again showed his care and compassion. The angel of God led Hagar to a well of water, a miracle that revealed that even in the most desperate situations, God is present and will never forsake his children. As written in Genesis 21:19, "Then God opened her eyes and she saw a well of water. She went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink." This was a clear manifestation of divine love and providence. Through painful experiences and moments of despair, Hagar found a new purpose. Despite the relentless challenges, she realized that everything has meaning in the eyes of God. She found renewal and hope not only because of the material provision God had brought, but also because of the promises he had kept to both Ishmael and herself. It was a living testimony to God's faithfulness, always at work in difficult circumstances and beyond human understanding. Hagar returned with Ishmael, and from that point they continued their journey on the path God had prepared for them, filled with challenges but also abundant hope. As time passed, Ishmael matured not only physically but also spiritually, becoming a strong and skilled young man, forged through the difficulties and challenges that life presented. Under the loving care and guidance of his mother Hagar, from a young age, Ishmael learned to survive in the harsh desert environment. The desert was not only their home but also a school where Ishmael honed essential survival skills, particularly hunting and navigating the terrain, skills crucial for a nomad. His life was marked by resilience and bravery, qualities essential for survival and growth in the harsh desert environment. With exceptional archery skills, Ishmael became a skilled archer, the protector and provider for himself and his mother. Genesis 21:20-21 describes Ishmael's growth. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. This not only acknowledges Ishmael's hunting abilities but also affirms God's continuous presence in his life. It was God's protection that enabled Ishmael to overcome the challenges he faced throughout his formative years. As Ishmael grew older, Hagar was concerned not only with his survival in the desert environment but also with his long-term future. Living in the isolation of the desert made Hagar realize that he needed a companion, someone to walk through life with him and continue the family's legacy. Hagar, understanding the importance of marriage in maintaining family ties and the protection between tribes, decided to seek an Egyptian wife for Ishmael. This decision was not only personally significant, but also deeply rooted in cultural and historical values. Hagar, hailing from Egypt, chose a woman from her homeland for Ishmael, aiming to strengthen the bond between Ishmael's lineage and the Abrahamic family, while also creating a blend of Egyptian and Arab cultures. Ishmael's marriage is not only a continuation of his family, but also the fulfillment of God's promise, as his children will become the ancestors of 12 tribes, laying the foundation for the development and spread of the Ishmaelite tribes in the Middle East. This bond is not just a reflection of family ties, but a model of resilience, cultural integration, and the honoring of the sacred promises God made. Ishmael's life is a living testimony that God's promises are not only fulfilled in favorable circumstances, but also through the harshest trials, where every step he took carried the mission of continuing a great legacy. The tribes of Ishmael, stemming from his children, not only protect Arab cultural values, but also build a complex network of relationships, connecting families and tribes across generations. The story of Ishmael and his descendants not only reflects the transmission of divine promises across generations, but also stands as a vivid symbol of God's continuous presence in the history and life of his people. The bond between Ishmael and Isaac, despite their obvious differences, carries a profound message of reconciliation and unity. Notably, in Genesis 25:9, we witness a pivotal moment when the two brothers come together to bury their father Abraham in the cave of Machpelah. This act was not merely a filial duty, but a symbol of overcoming the conflicts and family disputes that had marked their childhood. Despite their evident differences, this moment signifies their mutual acknowledgement of their shared heritage, emphasizing that family bonds, even when tested by disputes, remain strong and enduring. Throughout the biblical narrative, family relationships play a crucial role, from the promises given to Abraham to the stories of his children and grandchildren. The relationship between Ishmael and Isaac reflects that, despite division and rivalry, moments of reconciliation can emerge, demonstrating God's intervention and guidance in family matters. The event of Ishmael and Isaac burying their father together was not only personal, but also a testament to the reconciliation between the two lineages, laying the foundation for the development of the nations they would come to represent. When examining the development of Ishmael's descendants and his tribes, it is evident that the interaction between the Ishmaelites and Israelites has spanned centuries, deeply influencing the politics, society, and culture of the Middle East. Though a secondary son, Ishmael was promised by God to become the father of a great nation, reflecting God's recognition of him and the greatness of the Arab lineage he founded. In Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions, Ishmael holds a particularly significant role. In Judaism, he is the son of Hagar, while in Islam, he is regarded as a prophet and key heir. This underscores the religious and cultural diversity stemming from Abraham's lineage. The relationship between Jews and Arabs throughout history, especially through political events like the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, has reflected tensions over power, land, and identity. These conflicts not only reflect the biblical division between the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael, but also illustrate the complexity of human nature and the free will that God has granted each of us. These tensions were not part of God's original plan, but rather the outcome of human choices. Nonetheless, the Bible emphasizes God's call to love, peace, and reconciliation. God's promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael, as well as Jesus' call in Matthew 5:44, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you," establish a peace ideal that we must strive for. This calling is not only a reminder of love and forgiveness, but also a guide for us in a world full of division. Indeed, peace is a shared responsibility for all, as seen in Romans 12:18. "If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone." This statement affirms that peace is not only a goal, but also an action each of us must take. As we look ahead, even with continuing conflicts, God's plan for reconciliation and unity will still unfold. In Revelation 7:9, we are given a magnificent vision of unity and worship, where every nation and tribe stands before God in glory. This image reminds us that one day we will all be united in love and peace under the reign of God, when all divisions and conflicts will be healed. May we find faith and inspiration from these sacred truths, becoming those who carry light in a world that desperately needs healing and reconciliation. Through prayer, understanding, and acts of love, each of us can contribute to fulfilling God's holy plan, bringing all nations together to worship the Creator. If you found this video and its reflections helpful, don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and follow the upcoming videos that will appear on your screen. Deeper sermons and biblical insights will inspire you on your journey of faith. Thank you for taking the time to watch, wishing you health and God's blessings.